Good evening and welcome to your Sunday Tonic conversation with the Love Crusader. We are back again with another powerful edition of your favorite Sunday program. And if you're finding us for the first time or you're joining us for the first time, this is a platform where we have a fun way of talking about serious issues around life, around love, around relationship. And this month of November has been our love and sex month. So today is the conclusion of the whole matter. It's our Q&A for the month, and at the same time, the conclusion of what we've been talking about all month. In case you have missed any of the videos, please subscribe. We are on YouTube at Men Fences TV. You can go back and watch a replay of all the lessons that were dished out this month. It's at Men Fences on Facebook, and on my personal profile on LinkedIn. The name is Oko Joseph Comfort Obayoje. Is it Obayoje or Motese? Anyways, if you put in Oko Joseph Comfort, I'm sure you find me. Okay, so I'm home with my crew today. My co-hosts are here. They are here. And Brother Emmanuel has not had the opportunity to give his input in this love and sex month. So, hey, today is the day. We're going to hear his own. He has to bring his own version. Let's hear what's going on that end. Okay. Titi's here. I don't know whether they need any more introduction, but for those who do not know, that's Titilayo, CEO of, or is it convener? How do they used to call that himself? We are sisters when it comes to coaching and life lessons and relationships and mentorship, and we're doing this together. And that is Dr. Emmanuel. All of the science people, pharmacists, TT, Dr. Emmanuel, you people cannot intimidate me. Okay, anyways, please share this video, invite someone. Like I always say, knowledge is power, and you could be saving someone's marriage or someone's relationship just by the knowledge that will be shared here today. We've had tremendous feedback. I think it's one of the biggest months when it comes to feedback on our platform with the love and sex. Not surprising, sex is always a very interesting topic for almost everyone. People want to watch, people want to know, people want to hear. I always say it's the big elephant in the room. It's there, and many people sometimes dance around it. They don't want to talk about it. So when they get a platform where it can be talked about, I think people are just excited to be able to talk about it. Thank you all for your feedback, your excellent feedbacks, for your messages, for your chats, for your calls about it. And we are so happy. We're getting feedback from relationships. Someone said to me yesterday, my wife and I have, this is the month that we've ever talked more about our sex life. And it's because of the platform, So it just even dawned on me that we didn't used to talk about it, So, we encourage communication, and that was a good feedback for me. I felt really happy. This is what this platform is all about, people. We just want to live the best life that God has promised us here on earth before we go to heaven. I know we're all going to heaven, but I mean,
well, we are still here.
yes, while we're still here, we can make heaven on earth and every relationship is mendable. That's the essence of the platform. All right, all right. I'm talking too plenty. Let's come back to the nitty-gritty of the day. So we got, like I said, a lot of feedback, lots of questions, but two main questions that I feel are related to areas that we didn't cover, and that is why we're going to cover those two questions today, and just generally gloss over, put the icing on the cake that we've been baking the entire month. So one relates to masturbation in marriage. So one of the partner is masturbating, and of course, it means that because that is happening, this person is no longer interested in, or is not so sweet to her partner because of this masturbation. And the masturbation came as a result of a request from the partner saying, like, you're too difficult to arouse. So I want you to touch yourself for me, arouse yourself for me. And that was how it started. So there are some things we're going to talk about today. Let's just talk about what is okay, what is acceptable, what is welcome within the confines of sex, especially sex in marriage, because we've established on this platform that we're not encouraging sex outside marriage. It is sex within the confines of marriage, but even within the confines of marriage, what is acceptable? The other talks about the fact that they got married as virgins, husband and wife. So they said they didn't know anything about sex, and the husband suggested they watch porn as a way of learning. And well, that it was good at the early stage of the marriage because they watched together, they learned some things, they practiced the things they could practice according to her. But now, 6 years down the line, she feels the lessons are over, they don't need it anymore. However, she has just discovered that her husband is still doing it behind her back. So is it proper for a husband and wife to watch porn together? Please have your say, viewers. These are some of the questions we will deal with today. Is it proper? Is it a proper thing for husband and wife to watch porn together in the first place? And within the confines of what we call the love and sex life, what is permissible? What is acceptable? What is not acceptable? Who wants to start?
Titi, you're on mute.
Oh, okay. I think you should start, Mama. Then we'll follow you.
I've laid the foundation. Yeah. You start talking. You should not, don't push it to me again. No. Oh yeah. Especially Manuel, because Manuel have not been around.
He hasn't been here, so let's allow him to open the floor today. Go ahead, please. Manuel.
Okay. All right. Well, it's a pleasure being here again. I would not say I'm the oldest here, and I don't think sexual knowledge is always based on age. However, I will do the best I can to provide as much guidance as possible. First things first, in terms of what is acceptable or unacceptable within the confines of sex in marriage. And I will speak from the background or platform of a Christian marriage, right? Because I really don't know much about other backgrounds and what, maybe other traditions or belief systems. So it's important that I mention that, because so if it's different from what what you've always known, or how you were raised, or your religion, just understand that I'm speaking from the platform of, or the understanding of a Christian marriage. First things first is, whatever is going on between husband and wife is not outside of their faith, right? It's not outside of their belief in God. So whatever decisions they are making in terms of their sexuality, they have to always keep that in the forefront of, okay, even if we feel this is okay, or this idea sounds good, does this idea fly from the standpoint of our faith and what we believe? And they both have to agree to answer that question individually, so that they move forward with it. Which means, just like Apostle Paul would say, that if to me it's not a problem to eat a certain meat, but eating that meat makes somebody else offended, and begins to fall away, in order for that person not to be offended, I would not eat that meat. So even within the confines of sex, if there are things that maybe one partner wants to do or suggest, and the other person feels it is inappropriate, they both have to agree around it, especially if it's from the standpoint of their faith. So that's generally our starting point. And then the second thing I would say is it's very important to lay, it's acceptable to lay ground rules. There are basic rules that couples need to have. You know, if there are things that is a no-no with you that you already know, you need to from the get-go communicate with your spouse. And I think really communicating is so important around, you know, what we choose to do or not do within sex in marriage. Now, speaking more specifically to some of the questions, anyway, your question was about what is acceptable, what is unacceptable. I would say everything is permissible if it does not, if it gives, if it is not against your Christian faith. And the key word there is permissible. Just because it's permissible doesn't mean it's agreeable by both of you. So if it is not against your, for example, generally speaking, porn is against our Christian faith. Why is it? It's because you're looking at another person that is naked, and Jesus already talked about even if the person is not naked and you're lusting after the person, you've already sinned. Now, how much more if you're looking at a naked man or woman? It's that is already there from the get-go, right? So but now, if we're now talking about something that two people want to agree to do, and it's something that is permissible in the sense that this is not a problem, then you still have to now deal with, is your spouse comfortable with that? You know, how does he or she feel about it? And both of you have an agreement around it. For example, role playing is an example. There are couples that do role play, and you know, one person may not be comfortable with the idea of role playing. Another person may be comfortable with that idea. So you both have to have a conversation and agree on how do you go forward with this. Those are some of my initial thoughts.
Okay, I'll let Titi talk before I come back with some questions. Titi,
Yes,
your
he has said
initial
it all.
thoughts. Your initial
Yes,
thoughts,
he
according
has
to
said it
Emmanuel.
all.
All
So
right.
there's nothing to add again.
No, there has to be something to add. What you mean by that? We are not
I
doing me
don't
as
know.
editor here. Oh. Say your own. Say your say. Oh yeah.
What is acceptable? What's not? I don't know. I don't know how to say. Within the what is not acceptable is not acceptable. Just like I was trying to explain before we got on this evening, that sometimes if we don't and this is a very common thing, if we don't understand the use of something, there's tendency for you to abuse it. So most times we don't get it. That's my own understanding of these things. We don't understand the bigger picture. We don't understand when God institutes something or creates something, we don't understand the reason behind it. Because if we did, then some questions shouldn't even come up. There's some things that are not so clear. Maybe Bible didn't say, don't do this, don't do that you will know not to do. You know, so because when you are talking about masturbation in the context of marriage, the question now is, what are both of you there for? You know, like the first question that was, or is it the second one I was talking about? They've just got married and they didn't know anything, so they thought to watch porn. Again, we just don't get it. You're not supposed to know anything. That's the whole idea. You're not supposed to know anything. So if bringing porn into the matter is like, yeah, walking faster than your shadow, calm down, come together, don't know nothing, and start knowing nothing from each other. That's the way. That was God's intention. Start knowing each other, start understanding each other. With time, you would realize that you really didn't need to know anything. All you needed was each other. So again, we don't really understand the concept. So if we did understand the concept of marriage the way God is seeing it, we won't be asking questions about masturbation or pornography. Again, I like I was explaining, like in the Garden of Eden, when God told Adam not to eat the fruit, it was not about the fruit. It was bigger than the fruit, but for Adam, he just felt, what's the big deal? After all, I'm in control of every other thing. But it was not about the fruit. It was about something much more bigger. So that's the way the issue of masturbation and pornography is. It's not just about the act alone. It's much more bigger than that. And in the terms of what is acceptable and what is not, for me, as a person that believes, I believe both of them are not acceptable, especially in the context of marriage. So, if they are acceptable, then what are we doing? Why did I have to get married to you? I could have as well gone ahead to be doing the masturbation and pornography all by myself. Why do I have you? That's the question. So for me, as a person that believes, I believe it is not acceptable. Again, if you feel, as someone that believes, if you think it is acceptable, that's okay. That's fine. As we grow older, as we become more aware spiritually, understanding of these things come to us naturally. That's where I usually rest my case. So most times I don't really argue about things like this. But in order to set someone free, like this sister now that is in this situation, see, this marriage thing, it has a lot of challenges on its own already. Why now add another? Now this is another extra challenge now that this woman has they've added to their marriage. As if the marriage itself does not have issues
It's not
already.
complicated enough.
So that's just the way I see it.
Okay. All right. Okay. I want to come to something Titi said because she mentioned this. I think it was last week when we are talking about compatibility. The fact that some people say, oh, they're not sexually compatible, and Titi said, as far as she's concerned, there's no word like sexual, not being sexually compatible. It is because maybe some people have already started tasting their forbidden fruit before they got married, and they are now doing some kind of comparison with what they now have, that they begin to. But let's be very practical, okay? Let's be very practical about it. Not everyone is going to get married as a virgin. Not everyone is going to do that. So let's just be factual. If then that is the situation, to say one person have already known what this thing is all about, or one person was a master of it, maybe before they repented. You get what I'm trying to say? And the other person doesn't know. You would expect that one would teach the other, right? But in this case now, isn't there going to be like this problem, an imbalance? I don't want to use the incompatibility word anymore because we agree it doesn't exist. But wouldn't there be an imbalance in the situation? That is one. Two, if we have also a situation where someone differences in sex drive, don't okay, now let me ask medical doctor, is that a medical situation? Does it medically exist? Is differences in sexual drive a scientifically proven theory? Let me put it that way.
Oh boy.
Let's start from there first.
Okay, I'm a general practitioner. I'm not a sexologist, but okay. Yes, biologically, yes. The answer is yes. Typically, sex drive is a function of the levels of testosterone, right? So both men and women have testosterone. It's just they have this particular hormone at different levels, right? Different concentration. And that's why maybe in sport, for example, they ban use of people who take additional testosterone hormones, because it helps muscle building and other things that essentially explain why men have high levels of testosterone, which also explain why, men tend to have that higher sex
Higher
drive.
sex
Put it
drive.
that way. Yeah, the men want to have sex perhaps more times within a cycle, say a month, for example, than most women might want to. Um, but again, having said that, from a biological standpoint, there are many factors that impact sex drive, right? So if you just go strictly biologically, it's true. Men have a higher sex drive than women. Men want to have sex more often than most women want to. But there are many factors that can impact that sex drive and can completely alter that stereotypical way of thinking about it. So I just wanted to put that caveat out there.
Thank you. I know
Now,
because sorry, I'll let you come back to it, but because what I'm asking is, we might just want to gloss over it, but the truth is that this problem exist. That's it's there. Um, Even among women, some women have higher sexual drives than other women. You see women who want to talk about sex all the time, who want to have sex all the time. They say, oh, once you touch them, oh, their body's on fire. And you see the ones that you have to, like, it's like generator. You have to draw it and wind the engine and wind the engine before the engine will start. I've heard all of these kind of stories. And like you said, yes,
right,
some things can impact. I mean, in
right.
Africa, we used to have circumcision of women where they cut off the female clitoris.
Clitoris.
And
Mhm.
that is a major turn on point for most women. So imagine when
Right.
it's not there. If you marry a woman who doesn't have it, then you might be one of those who need to wind the engine and wind the engine and wind the engine. So these issues can actually bring up differences in maybe the way I see sex and the way you see sex and the way you want sex and the way I want sex, right? So now
Okay.
if we have a husband and wife who have this impact issues, because from the two questions we had, both of them were trying to find satisfaction. The aim was to be better. There was none of them at the beginning that actually was looking for a destruction of their sex life or their marriage. It's from trying to find how to be better that they got into the situation where they are in. So why don't we talk about how we can be better? That's where I'm going. How can we
Great
be
question.
better without going into all of this? Because if you say, oh, it's permissible within my faith, someone might say, oh, as a Christian, there's nowhere in the Bible that says masturbation is wrong. Oh, as a Christian, there's nowhere in the Bible that says, oh, I shouldn't watch porn. Although you've given a very good biblical reference to Jesus saying, just looking at a woman lustfully is sin. How much more when you are sitting down, you are watching it, you are watching somebody's nakedness. So, yeah, that can actually be a good biblical base. But we know that there's just specification of these things in the scripture to say specifically this is this, which is so what some people hold on to. However, so that people don't go into all of these other vices, how can we then help ourselves if we have these problems of, oh, you want it, I don't want it. It is my biology. What can I do about it?
It is your chemistry. This is my
Help
own
us,
Oh my
biology.
goodness.
help us, doctor, help us, help us. Many people are so
Oh Lord, we're,
help
we're, we're, we're not giving people excuses to cop out of having sex with their spouse by saying, well, it's just how I am. You heard him. It's my biology. My sex drive isn't there.
some
Um,
people might use that as so I brought it back to say let's help them, because we're not trying to say, oh, okay, yeah, now, oh, thank God, one medical doctor and he came from a doctor. Even if you are, oh, this is authentic. Now, we are not saying you have to stay like that. Okay? We are not saying how can we help ourselves without going into these other not so permissible things. That's what I'm talking about.
So, what I will first of all say, and I even want to address situations where people are naive, they never knew anything. In the course of discovering yourself within marriage, you would eventually start knowing what you like, what you
Mhm.
don't like. You would eventually start knowing what turns you on and what absolutely turns you off. And I mean abrupt turn you off. Like it's not erectile dysfunction, you are turned off. That's it, it's done, gone. So so when you know something about yourself, it is your responsibility to educate your spouse about that thing,
Okay.
because your spouse is not living in your mind, and he or she may not know if he or she is not clearly told or educated about what to do and how to do it. This is what works for me. When you do this, it makes me feel like this. And the person knows, okay, put it down in my checkbook. Do this always. That helps, right? And
Mhm.
if over time you keep picking pointers like that, this works, this works, this works, over time you will begin to feel like your spouse is amazing in bed. It's like, good God, this guy is so good. Well, he has been listening to you, he has been picking all your pointers, he has been
It's
watching your
good to
body
you. He has been good to you.
he has been watching your body response to the things he does
Mm-hmm.
in bed.
True.
She too, she's been watching you. Okay, this is the kind of position that my husband just goes crazy and start acting as if his energy is coming from the moon or some weird stuff. So it has a lot to do with learning one another. Even in the Bible, Jesus said, learn of me. Yeah. So learn of one another. Be open to teach your spouse and be open to learn from your spouse. There's no room for, nobody knows it all. And just as we've established in this platform, we change as we grow older. So your preference today might not be your preference tomorrow. So there's need to keep learning from one another. And that's that communication uh, thing that we talked about. The other thing that I wanted to mention, for a lot of women, most women claim sex for them doesn't start in the bedroom itself. It starts outside of the bedroom. So, in other words, it's very possible that, oh, biologically you don't have a great sex drive, but you want to have sex with your husband all the time. Why? He's doing certain things that get you in the mood all the time. He or she, and when I say he, I'm not trying to make this thing just one sided. Please, it's he or she. So just permit my language. The point is your spouse is aware and they're doing that thing that gets you in the mood all the time. For some women, for example, the way their husband plays with their kids, the way the husband is present with the family, taking care of the kids, loving on the kids, it just gets them in the mood to want to do any and everything, with him in the other room, sexually. So we should learn from one another is one way to get past the compatibility problem, because compatibility usually means somebody is not happy, somebody is feeling cheated, somebody is feeling let down, somebody is probably not getting satisfaction. So how do we bridge that? Communication. Speak with your spouse. Let me not take too much time.
Okay. Auntie Titi, any other addition to that?
Again, he has said it all. So let's keep it moving.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. There's something you said that I want to also pick on now. So changes in preferences to say with time things will change. Two, I want to tie it to something because some years back we we had a meeting among women, some group of women I was leading some years back, and we were talking about sex, the bedroom, and we talked and talked and talked to a point. One woman said, "Please, you people should hold on. No, I don't want to come here and cheat myself and go back home. You probably talking about orgasm, orgasm. What are you people talking about?" And we were looking at her funny because this was a married woman with 2 kids at that time. So the minimum year she would have been married would have been 5 to 6 years. And she didn't know what orgasm was about. She had never experienced it. So I asked her, what are people doing in the bedroom? Anyways, so from that lesson that day, and of course subsequent conversations that we had with her, not just me and one other sister, she went back home and tried to have a conversation with her husband. And the man said, you are cheating on me. So she said, no, I learned it from the, no. Which fellowship would they go and be talking things like that? So now you know that there's something that's supposed to happen to a woman that don't happen to you since all these years we've been in this marriage. It was a big problem. What if you have a difficult partner that don't want to listen? Whether it's the man or the woman, don't want to listen, don't want to change, don't want to learn. So you're saying, this is how I like it. This is how this thing gives me joy. But the person don't want to do that way for whatever reason, because you know, we can, like you said, it's wide. You can go into a lot of stories here. I've heard those who say, oh, why should somebody give the other one head? God did not say anything about mouth should be considered. I say, where in the Bible did God even tell us how to do this thing? That somebody will not say God gave us a particular style to use anyway. God has suffered in people's hands, so you always use God. Okay. So
and some people have suffered using God in the name of God.
My sister, beating themselves and suffering for
and
nothing.
They've missed out.
Making life more difficult than God made it originally, because they create their own rules. The rules God did not create. They create their own rules and make life difficult. So let's help somebody who might have a spouse who is not open to communication about those things. And I'll feel that, oh, because you want to bring it, you don't used to do it like this before. One woman told me that from what we learned, because I don't want to get into all the details, but we learned some really, really deep things. There was a sister. Oh my God, I still love that sister. I don't want to mention her name. I love her for that meeting that day, because she was. I said, Auntie, I should have brought her. Oh, I'm going to look for a way to bring that sister to this platform one of these days. So there were some things she taught us that as a woman, this is how you should be doing and doing and doing. And one of the sisters left from there and went and started. The man said, who have you been sleeping with? Where did you learn this one from? So, because you mentioned that as we grow, preferences will change. You know, as we learn, we start learning new things, we start doing new things. So how do you deal with a spouse who is not open to learning new things, who's not open to this communication, who does not want to change things, who believes that, for example, missionary style is the only style that was given by God
from the Lord?
Oh yeah, how do we begin to deal?
That's your cross. Just carry it and be going.
Auntie, so she should just live a non-enjoyable sexual life till she die.
No.
She
should live the life of a sister.
Auntie, please do better.
See, just like the way we're talking about, sometimes some people are fast learners, some people are slow learners. For some people, they are battling with so many other things. Some people are battling with religion when it comes to sex. Some people are battling with culture. Yeah. So it's just so many layers to this thing. So you need to give it time. Put yourself in the position of that person. If you are the one that is so naive or didn't know, what would you want your spouse to extend to you? So you need to really give it time. And somehow, I know it's not easy. Don't make a fuss about it. You know your spouse, you understand your spouse better, but try not to, how do I put it, grieve them or aggravate the issue. Again, you just have to be patient with them and look for other ways that you can get through to them. You cannot do this thing by yourself. So you just have to patiently, and I believe.
Is this something you would advise someone to take to their pastor? Can I, for example, go and tell my pastor that,
I think
my husband is not doing this thing well, and I'm telling him that this is how we should be doing it, but he's not listening?
I think that after you've exhausted talking with him and he's not listening, for me personally, let me talk about myself. For me, it's not something I would take to my pastor. No. I would talk to my husband about it, and I would look for ways to get through to him again, that's where the patience thing comes in, because you have to be really patient, you know. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, for me, there's that tendency for me to want to seek a professional, you know. I want someone that will give me something concrete as to what to do. I wouldn't meet my pastor about that. I would probably see a sexologist or look for someone that is an expert in that area to help me out. That's what I would do.
Somebody say, tell it to Jesus. So, is this something that should be a prayer topic? Oh dear Lord.
Oh,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh
yes.
yes.
When I talk about sex,
What can't be a prayer? Every and
yes.
anything should be a prayer topic. As a matter, if it bothers you, anything that bothers you in this life should be a
all
prayer thing.
because we do not carry
Everything,
to God
every
in
single
prayer.
thing. Yeah, and that's where your breakthrough might come from. You never can tell, you know. So that's the way I will handle that issue.
Doctor, tell us, what do you think? How would someone handle? Good one. I like what you said. Patience is always a virtue. But they say sometimes patience is not the answer. Did you see that? I think for the past 2 weeks I've been seeing that on social media. The man is facing a pool of an empty pool without fishes. Behind him is another pool that has lots of fishes, and he's sitting down on that pool that doesn't have fishes with the hook and looks like he's been there for long. And someone said sometimes patience is not the answer. You have to change direction. Okay. So
Well, change direction doesn't mean change spouse. So it's one thing to try to change.
Change
It's
direction.
one
Instead
thing
of
to
talking to
try.
your pastor, talk to an expert.
It's one thing to try to change the direction of your marital sex life. It's another thing to marry somebody else that probably have the fishes you're looking for. That's not what we're advocating for, and I don't know if that's what that principle is about. But just to buttress this point, it's a difficult one. I'm going to be honest with you. One of the places where people experience or feel rejection the most in marriage is sexually.
yes, and they don't
And the
talk about
word,
it.
yep, and the word feel is critical in my comment, because the person may not actually be rejecting you. The person may not be there at the moment where they feel like, okay, they agree with you that we should start doing this, or we should explore that, right? They may still have those barriers. You don't have them. But to you, what you hear or feel is rejection. Now,
Exactly.
by the time you combine the emotion of rejection, the tendency with rejection is resentment and revenge. So, if you combine this cocktail, you can see where that marriage is going to. Very, very
Terrible
unhealthy,
cocktail.
a very unhealthy place is where it's going. So there is need to, first of all, like she said, empathize with your partner. If you've had a conversation with your partner, for example, you guys want to explore, you think you should try this because you think this really really works for you, makes you feel great, but your partner in feels like if they do that, it doesn't make him feel like a man, or it makes her feel like a prostitute. A married woman feeling like a prostitute is a big deal. So there has to be empathy for one another, right? Give grace to each other, and it takes time for people to change. Change doesn't always come overnight, but if you patiently keep talking with one another. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about sex, and I told the person, well, why don't you and your spouse just go to a park? Go to somewhere that is not in your house, somewhere so neutral, and the only thing you can do is talk, and then try to have a sex related conversation where, okay, you know, now it's not because I'm just trying to get to the bedroom. I genuinely want us to talk, to have an understanding, and a breakthrough comes gradually. Your spouse might be open to try. It might be a case of, okay, why don't we just try it? I know how you feel, but just give it a try. And the person tries. When the person try, you appreciate their effort, because it's actually taking a lot to break that barrier to try to change, whether male or female. And then over time, with lots of prayer, because honestly, Jesus is also in our bedroom, as far as I'm concerned. So with lots of prayer, with lots of patience, I feel like you may not get to 100%, but you may get to 80. Yeah, you may get to 70, which is way better than zero.
Oh,
So
that's an A.
Exactly. So it's way better than zero, and you can live with that. You can give one another that room. But if it's a matter of just keep butting your head, getting angry, for those people who are at that place right now where maybe one spouse usually was very open to sex, but now you are so offended because you feel rejected all the time, you feel like, and then you've closed the door in anger, resentment, and revenge. So the door is now shut to both people. You are both missing out. You are both going to starve. You are both hungry. You know, if I choke myself with a knife or stab myself with a knife, hoping another person to get hurt, the person might be hurt seeing me hurt, but I'm also hurt. So why don't we put all that pain, rejection, and all those feelings aside? Let's come together, have a conversation. Let's try. Okay, let's try. Let's see if we can take a little step forward. Baby steps today means over time we would have made a lot of progress.
Great, great. And I think for me, I'll talk more to the brothers, men folk. There's this ego that some men have. When a woman says, "Oh, I think this thing we can do it better," or "You're not doing it well for me," or "It's not happening for me," and she's not trying to belittle you. She's not saying you're not a man. She's not saying, "Oh, you don't know how to be a man or how to." Listen, listen, listen. There's always a sense inside nonsense. Even when it is called nonsense, there's sense inside it. You cannot spell nonsense without sense. Do you understand what I mean? Literally.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there's still sense in nonsense. Even if you feel she's saying rubbish, listen. Because a woman loves to be listened to. And also for us as sisters, if you get a feedback from your man, "Oh, this is how I like it," this is, sometimes try to make how do you call it, adjustments. I mean, it's about compromise. Okay, I'm not saying do anything that is outside, that would maybe impact your health. um for example, some people say they do anal sex. It will never happen for me in this life. I don't care who the person is. It will never. So. Like Emmanuel was saying, everyone has, like, maybe, would I say, their boundary, what they cannot do, or what they cannot, what they cannot cross. Let's put it that way. But within the bounds of what is healthy, what is comfortable for both of you, let's adjust for each other. Let's make adjustments for each other, because it is meant to be enjoyed by both, not to be enjoyed by one. At every point in time where one person goes away satisfied and the other person is unsatisfied, we've not made love. You might say sex has happened, and that can happen with anybody. But when it comes to, that's why we put it, the topic, as love and sex. When it comes to love making, it has to be, the satisfaction of both, the merging of both bodies and soul together in such a way that, it bonds the husband and the wife, and binds us and makes us stronger, even much more stronger. So, okay, someone said women should learn to flirt, to go after their husbands too. Yeah, I
If she's not flirting with you, go and flirt with her.
all the factors that affect women sexually affect men too. Agreed. We totally agree. And we are saying it now, sister. Learn to wear skimpy. Let me give you people. So there's this show going on in Nigeria, and on one of the shows, a man came and said, "Oh, please, I have a problem with my wife. My wife does not wear skimpy." It's the first time I heard that word. So, sisters,
Oh
please,
boy.
my darling sisters, learn to take care of yourself. So, because you've had one, because you have two, because you are approaching menopause, like our sets, grandmothers like us, it doesn't mean that you can no longer look hot and sexy. Hello? Especially for your husband. Do what it takes to attract. I think we've been saying it since the beginning of the month. Men are moved by what they see. Don't look shabby, unkept, dirty, looking like his grandmother, and then you complain that this man doesn't desire me. He can't find the thing he desired from the onset. And I know it's a whole lot with childbirth, with housekeeping, we add career to it as women. But one thing we can never and we must never compromise is our health, is our bodies, is ourself. Self-care as a woman is super important. Lessons I wish I learned when I was younger. Some of us learned it in old age, but we are doing it even in old age. Self-care is important. Bible says to love others as you love yourself. So you got to love yourself first to be able to love someone else. Please, sister, rub good cream, bath, put perfume. I don't know how to say it again. No. Be smelling nice. Even when you are coming to the bedroom, don't always wear flabby. Okay. You know that all those moms.
Be helping her. Be helping her.
Woo!
Be helping her.
Tell me, what do you mean? Who is helping who?
The man should be helping the woman. You know,
How?
you
To
just
dress her
there's
up?
just a whole list of
To provide the
things.
money or what?
There's just a whole list of things that you've mentioned now that she's carrying on. Everybody has their own this thing they're carrying on, though. So you should be helping her too. If he's helping her, she
If
will
he's helping
in
her.
short, she will flirt with you more than you can
you're
even
talking
handle.
about helping her in the house.
Mhm.
Oh, it's not that I get you, my darling. Yes.
The helping
Especially
is
our African
alone is
brothers,
enough turn on.
Thank you.
She will be all over you.
That's
Do you
a
know, I
very,
saw
very
a skit
great point.
recently. I saw a skit recently of a lady talking about the way you cook for your husband after he has given you some the night before, after he has
Chai.
done it so well the night. Like,
Oh my God.
she was wearing skimpy and laid out all the different recipes.
Oh, don't
You know, exactly. You know, so the point is you got to help her. She can't have
exactly.
housekeeping, career, children, and all that, and you still expect her to be on top of her game. You cannot work like that. You know, you've got to step up your own game too.
And I like that. I think when Emmanuel was giving an example, he said sometimes the way, was it Emmanuel or you, one of you was saying, sometimes the way a man takes care of the children can turn a woman on. Something like that, you know? So for you as a man that you are saying, I'm too big to wash dishes, why should I go to the kitchen and be in the kitchen with a woman? You might just be missing out on the ingredients that you require. Okay, let a man talk. So let's not be that we sisters are now ganging up against the brothers. Brother Emmanuel, yeah, help us in this matter. What do you say? Because it's a very important issue, especially for African brothers.
Yeah. I mean, what's there to add? It's just common sense, right? It's common sense that if somebody is spending all their energy taking care of all the vicissitudes of life, there'll be no energy left to, take care of you the way you want. So yeah, if you relieve her of all of her chores and help out, she'll be very much more alert. Somebody indicated in the chat that women should be more invested, more attentive. It's difficult to be invested or attentive when you're exhausted.
Exactly.
Let's just call it. Just call it what it is. How many of us can concentrate and drive properly when you're tired? That's why we don't like driving at night for most people. It's just simple common sense. So if you're both helping one another throughout the course of your day and everything you're doing, you both have more energy for each other. It doesn't have to only be at night, FYI, but whenever you guys choose to, you have the energy for one another. It's very important that, again, couples need to have conversation and agree on what, if a woman feels like she's wearing bomb shorts, or if she chooses to wear a thong kind of underwear, and to her, she feels like she's a prostitute, it's going to be difficult, man. So have a conversation, something as simple as that. Somebody might be feeling violated. Now, why would you want to make love to a woman that is feeling violated? Already it's turning both of you off. It won't work. So having conversations around even the little things that like how you look is important. So we've established that. The other thing that some of that chat is very important. A lot of women do not participate. They
Yeah,
just lie down there,
like a lot of
lazy when it comes to making love, and feel like it's all on your husband to just hump you until he passes out and move on.
carry up you.
Let
Um,
me speak on
Again,
behalf of
that's not
all
love
the
making.
women.
That's humping. Continue. Another word we got today, Titi. Humping. All
Let,
right, go
let
on.
me speak on behalf of all the women in the world.
so
I can't
it,
even.
it's important to participate,
Mhm.
right? It's important. It's your sexuality. It's intercourse with the person you love. Take charge of it. Get involved, right? Get involved.
Will the man not
Say
consider, okay, let's help our African sisters. If the sister now gets involved, she take charge. Will the man not now start looking at her like, how kind of loose woman is this one? Maybe this woman is a woman with a loose morale.
Most men will not
my God.
to.
They will not.
Thank you, Titi,
Most
because
men
that's
will
the
not
truth.
to. Let her take charge first. Let's see what will even happen.
How do we censor this word, please? Or
Let her take
somebody
all the
say it.
charge first. Let us see what he
Uh,
will say. I don't think he will object to that. But on
mhm.
behalf of all all women all over the world, most times when women have sex issues, it's not really about the sex, you
Absolutely.
know. So
Mhm.
that's a tip for all guys. So if you're having issues sexually with her, just sit her down and ask her what else it is.
Yes,
That's it.
Mhm.
What
yes.
else?
Yep.
These
Yep.
things are, I
Yep.
don't know. I feel that sometimes it's easier for the guys because you're the one that did the chasing. You're the one that did the wooing. You know what you did.
Sister Titi,
So
wait.
even
You
if
see, Sister Titi, the problem is that for a lot of them, after the chasing and the wooing, once the woman is in their house, they think it's over. That's the mistake most men make. I must stress that. You get the time they are looking for this girl, they go to her house every blessed day. Some of them will do midnight now that we have phone. Oh, the other day I was just thinking if it was the time that there was phone, that somebody like my husband was chasing me, chase you, the
Wow.
network providers would have been in trouble. Because this man will close from work, no matter how late the time he closes, he must report to our house every evening. 11 p.m. My husband, my father will now come to the sitting room. Hey, young man, go home. Go home. My father will come and drive him away because we want to sleep. My husband is still sitting down there. When you have finished chasing a woman that much, now she's in your house, and now you are showing her you don't have her time, you are busy. Hello. You must keep chasing her. Oh. Anything you know you not do in the marriage, don't start it when you are chasing the woman. Let's tell ourselves the truth.
Oh boy.
You were buying flowers when you were chasing her. She's in your house now. You no longer know flower
there's
shop.
no money for flowers again. The
You
money for
used to
flowers
send
divided
her
into three.
money. You used to send her money. When my husband was toasting me, he used to send me money. I don't used to ask for it. He's repenting
The
these days.
the money
Nice.
for flowers has divided into like
You
four
just stay.
places.
You just stay
So
and give me money. I say, brother in Christ, what are you giving me money for? I don't want your money, please. I don't want to be committed to anybody. Don't say I collected your money. Me too, I was doing good girl. But now I need the money, please. Let the money be entering there.
the money is divided in five places. So
You see the wahala now. Somebody say after wedding, chasing is now both ways. How? Is that true?
So it is important. We already established communication and all those stuff. It's important that men continue to understand and know your wife. The Bible, even scripture says, live with understanding, right? So you need to keep understanding, you need to keep learning. Some of the things, the references we made, or maybe things you did before you got married, some of them may no longer be relevant or even possible, especially if you have kids of very young age. So the
Mm,
circumstances might be different, but the intention shouldn't change. You should both
Mhm.
be after each other. It's two of you. See it as it's just two of us.
I'm
The kids will grow up and leave, right? So keep the woman shouldn't just ignore and just feel like, well, it's up to you. That's one way traffic. Like Titi said, then why did you get married? Might as well just go on your one way corner and be doing your own tangent. It's we now. It's now a we thing. Yeah. So if the husband is chasing after the wife, it's just as beautiful for the wife to chase after the husband. There are many women who, because of their cycles within a month, have certain periods where they get really horny, meaning they want to have sex and they are ready for it. And they hold themselves back because it should be my husband initiating. My dear, don't do that. Don't stay in frustration because you feel man, woman, all these stereotypes. Don't bring it into your marriage. Communicate, express yourself, have your desires and feelings met. You'll be all the happier for it. Your spouse will be all the happier for it. I know our time is almost gone. There is something I really want to mention, which is you don't have to have an ejaculation or orgasm to enjoy sexual intercourse. And it's important that we establish that on this platform. People
Okay.
have now summarized or taken sex to be, I must have an ejaculation, if not, I have not had sex, or I have
Oh,
not had satisfaction, or I must have an orgasm, if not, I have not had. No, it's very possible that you don't have it, but you enjoy having sexual intercourse with one another. I'm just putting that out there as a possibility for those who do, so you
I'm
don't
hearing
end
that
up
for the
feeling
first
like,
time.
yeah,
Expatiate, doctor.
the time is not long enough for expansion for us to
Oh, if you can
expatiate.
go a few minutes over, I'm
Okay,
very
well,
interested.
so the point I'm making is, if the goal is to make love to your spouse, the goal is not just to just have sex. You must have ejaculation. You don't necessarily need to. A lot of the time, the feelings and the emotions that surround making love to somebody are very, none of them, very satisfactory. It's very enjoyable a lot of the time. That sometimes if you don't, and I use the word sometimes, please keep that in mind. Sometimes if you don't have an ejaculation, it's not the end of the world. Don't feel like, oh my God, give your husband heaven and hell because, well, you came and I did not come. Let's compete.
Yeah,
Why did you
it might not
come?
come all the
All those
time.
kind of don't bring all those things, drama into
Pressure.
your, yeah, into your stuff. Enjoy the pleasure of being exposed to somebody and the emotions that surround making love to your spouse. And it goes both ways for both men and women. You don't always have to have an ejaculation all the time. You can just even decide, you know what, this evening or today, all I want to do is just get you to the top of the mountain. It's not about me no more. And you just make your spouse all the more happier. Guess what? They don't want to fill your own cup. That's such it is with life. Somebody else's cup is full. The person wants to do everything in their power to fill your cup too. So yeah, we are. I just wanted to put that one there too.
Again, common sense. These things are you're supposed to know.
All
It's
right. So,
alright.
um, my husband says every man would appreciate to be chased as well. So yeah, we all want the feeling of being loved and being wanted and being chased. So let's liberate you, my sister, who is there still thinking, oh, if I now, he will not say, oh, I'm spoiled. Until you have already spoiled, nothing's
Be
remain me before.
spoiled. Spoil, please. Spoil.
It not remain.
No
The
remain.
moment
Finish.
the moment you have removed your cloth, he has removed his cloth. It has finished. There's
Yes.
nothing. I don't know
Ahead.
what dignity you are protecting or what respect or what pride that you are still keeping and what you are going to do with it. You have already said, I will do. I will do and you must do. You have to do. And you have to do at every time that needs to be done. We know, and I think we've said this, if you've not watched a previous episode, like I said, this is the conclusion of this matter. You can go on and watch the previous episode so you understand where we are coming from. We've laid a lot of foundation. There could be head challenges. There could be reasons why it is not every time somebody wants it that they get it, or every time somebody needs it that is there. But all of it is that understanding. If you don't make it an everyday thing, every day you have headache, every day you have headache. You can't have every headache every day, auntie. This headache that doesn't stop you from waking up in the morning and going to work the next day. But when every evening, when you come back in the night, is when you now have, who even said this has to be in the night? Okay, but every evening when it is time for the other room, that is when you have this headache, then you know that something is wrong. And as a man, a brother, if your woman is always saying, I have headache, it's not an excuse for you to go and look for a side chick out there. She's calling for help. It is a cry for help. It means something is wrong. She's saying, let's talk about it. She's saying, I have an issue here. There's a challenge here. So it's time to sit down and ask her, why do you always have a headache? Why are you having a headache? It could be that she's overwhelmed by the chores. Like, I thank God it came from a man. He said, doing domestic chores is one of the keys. So if you as a man, you're forming, me, I can't wash plate, me, I can't clean house, I can't wash clothes, I can't do dishes, I can't join a woman to cook, I can't even go and cook, because sometimes you might have to cook. Just give that woman breakfast in bed. I mean, she had a very good session with you last night, and by the time she's waking up in the morning, breakfast is by her side. Tomorrow she will come for another session. But if she always have to wake up and now go and crack her head, maybe she still wanted to sleep, but she is forced to wake up. She must do breakfast for you. And that breakfast is not on the table, there's problem. As a Lord and Savior that you are.
Master of the universe that you are.
Then, by the time you come back the next day, she's going to say she has headache. I don't understand what somebody is calling me now anyways. I don't know what they're talking about.
I think, Mama C, what you've done and the example you've given, what you just said in summary is be kind to your spouse.
Be kind
It's
to
just,
yourself.
it's not, it's why, anyway, I don't understand exactly.
Great point.
Be kind to your spouse. If you treat your spouse with affection, with kindness, if you're there for the person, you're trying to make the person's life easier. I don't know, your sex, your marriage, your matrimonial bed won't suffer. You would enjoy one another. You'll be happy with one another. The other thing that I want to mention is, just because one person is in the mood to have sex doesn't mean sex has to be about what one person wants. Even if I am in the mood to initiate sex, it is still not about me only. It is still about both of us. It's still about how can both of us be happy. So all these things we've said in so many words, but really they're just really simple, easy to do. Pay more attention, be more aware of what's going on in your home, what's going on with your husband, what's going on with your wife. Give you an example. If your wife has been complaining to you throughout the day, oh, I'm really having this back pain, or I'm really having this headache, you haven't showed any iota of care to say, oh, is this something that requires seeing a doctor? Should we call a physician? Can I take you to see the doctor? Should I go to the store to get you some ibuprofen or Tylenol? How can I help you feel better? To show that care and kindness and love, then even with the headache, she'll be very happy to try to get into the mood to make love to you later in the day. It's because she feels loved. And the same thing happens with your husband too. He's had such a long day. He comes back home. You have this long list of issues that you want to now pile on his head, and the guy is already frustrated. And then you expect him to, are you not a man? Come and perform in the night. Like, come on. Be kind. Be kind one to another. Treat each other with affection, with a tender love. And then it will make it easier for you to both open up to one another and have sexual intercourse.
I totally agree. I love that point. Being kind to one another. I tell you, kindness is what builds intimacy. Sometimes, out of the kindness of your heart, you want to have sex, but all your spouse can give at that moment is a hug. Sweetheart, stay in that hug. That might just be, the healing that this person needs at that moment. Stay in that hug and really be in it. Let them feel it. You know what I'm trying to say? Out of the kindness of your heart. Oh, if it doesn't come today, to come tomorrow. Don't make an issue out of it. Don't make it become a problem. Oh, it must be today. Oh, today is today. Oh, I'm telling you that it's. I know a couple that I was quite young, and they were over almost 30 years old in marriage. They fought. We were downstairs, living downstairs. They were living upstairs of our house. They fought from upstairs to downstairs. Educated people. One was a director, a big director in government. The other one was a nurse. The woman was a nurse. So these were educated people who had been married for close to 30 years. And they were fighting on top of sex. From upstairs to downstairs, the whole neighbors went to separate and to deliver them, to be removing husband and wife. What is this fight about? Okay, in the long run, after the fight, did you still get what you're looking for? No. But if you have done it maybe a bit kindly, maybe you will still end up getting it one way or the other. And if you don't get it today, you get it tomorrow. Like he has said, let's be understanding of each other. Let's be kind to each other. And let's remove obstructions and obstacles. I'm going to say one thing to male folks, especially the male who are out there thinking that they are cheating on their wife, but cheating themselves. Because some of them go out there, they are maintaining side chicks. They're spending money. But when they come home, hey, it's only money she like, it's only money she like. That girl that you're maintaining out there, if you're not giving her money, she will not be that sweet and that nice to you. And half of the money you're spending on that side chick, if you spend half on the one you have in the house, she will do better. The grass is not always greener outside. The grass is green where you water it. So let's water let's water our grasses. Let's take care of ourselves, like we have said. As a woman, be kind to your husband. Even if you're tired and you've had a hectic day, if you really, really see that this is a need, you concede. You concede and help him. And the same thing, look at this woman, she's run up and down the whole day, she's tired. Oh, and one thing I need to speak about today, don't ever use children as excuses. I remember, and I think this will be the last, we've overrun our time again today.
Yeah, I have something I wanted to mention, but go ahead.
You had something you wanted to mention? Okay, no problem, we'll mention
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a young couple, they just had babies, their kids were very young. And the girl told me, oh, their sex life is gone, you know, blah, blah, blah. She talked and talked and talked. And I don't even know why. The Holy Spirit just told me, why don't you take your kids to your parents for the weekend and just have a weekend alone with your husband at home? That was all I said, you know. And by Monday, she was chatting me up like, Mama, oh my God. So apparently the man is so conscious of the children are sleeping in the other room. And this is what was, you know, like Emmy said, you don't, like Emmanuel said, I'm beginning to call him pet name. Like Emmanuel said, you don't really know what it is that kills the other person's ginger. Just the consciousness of my children are in the other room made this man not to want to touch the woman. And that weekend, when the children were not home, the tiger that she knew came back. So once in a while, send the children on errand. If they are grown up enough to leave the house on their own, send them to that mall that is far near the house. Put some shopping money in their hand. Tell them to go and buy something. Hello? Instead of using them as excuses, you have children now. You start putting the children between you and your husband on the bed. Just as a way of, auntie, the children are not your family planning to. Okay, Emmy, make your point and let's close.
Yeah. What I also wanted to mention is for people that are experiencing rape or forced sex in marriage. I know there are many aspects of sex in marriage that we may not be able to touch or talk about. That just came to my mind. I wanted to at least make a comment to say it is not.
That's a, how will I put it now? That's a big deal. It's a big deal and a big topic. Because some will even tell you that how can you claim a man has raped a wife that is his wife? How can a man rape his wife? He paid Auntie Titi, he paid her bride price. Is it really possible to say he raped her? You see, This is the issue. This is the beginning of it all. But it's happening. Because once the other person, and it's not just the man to the woman, it can also be a woman to the man. Once the other person has said no, and you forcefully sleep with them, it's rape. Abi, doctor, make una help me. Continue.
I'm just saying that at least what I wanted to mention is that it is not okay. If there's anybody that is trying to, what's the word, normalize forced sexual encounters, even in marriage, it is not okay. Um, there is a difference between forcing somebody against their will and having forceful sex. If you guys have decided, let's go crazy like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, break
Turn
all
the
the
house
dishes in
upside
the
down.
house, break the dishes, break the glass, destroy the bed, it's a different ball game. You both agreed that this is how you guys want to get it on. But if your spouse have directly said no to you, and because you feel it is your right within the marriage to have sex, so you enforce it and you take it by force, it is not okay to do that. Please don't do that. There are other ways, like we've established on this platform, to get to the point where you are both consenting and consensually blessing one another and loving on one another. But please do not rape your spouse. You take away every shred of self esteem and self dignity that they have when you do that. And then you will have nothing to come back to. You dry up the well and you have no water when you want to fetch, is essentially what would happen with that scenario. Okay, that's my comment. I'm done. Thank you.
Powerful, powerful. And I mean, you just raised a very, very sensitive and important matter. Which of course time will not, like you have already said, will not allow us go into it. But please, 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 you cannot, you cannot do that and traumatize the woman and expect her to come lovey-dovey to you tomorrow, because that's trauma. She's going to always remember it every time you touch her. You know, she's going to go back there every time, no matter how sweet you are trying to be right now. The trauma of what you've done last week when you did that will still be there. And it's something that can continuously affect your relationship in a long time. It's not going to be unforgiveness. It might be, don't be that the person has not forgiven you, but trauma takes time to heal. So if you've done that to your wife, then please, 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 please find help for her. Find help for her. And if you cannot talk to your pastor, there are sex therapists. Talk to a professional. If you are facing a deadlock, you're talking to your spouse, they are not listening, instead of you to just be miserable or use that as an excuse. Some people use it as excuse. My bedroom is not okay. That's why I'm not outside. I'm not following another woman out there. That's why I'm not into adultery. That's why I'm not cheating. That's why I'm not into pornography. That's why I'm not into this or that. Instead of going that route, find help, seek help, find a sex therapist, talk to them, find help. It's like every other kind of sickness. I mean, if you were sick, you will go to a doctor, you go to a GP. So if you have challenges sexually, it's like having a sickness. There are doctors for it. Go find help, get treatment, so you can enjoy the whole lot of things. Some women face dryness of the vagina. There are a lot of things that we can't, like we said, this sex matter is a very big ocean to swim in. And even you see 1 month is not enough, but we have to draw the curtain, people. Last words, Titi, so we can go. You're muted. Unmute. Unmute, Sister Titi, we can hear you.
I'll say keep talking to each other. That would liberate you a great deal. Don't stop talking with each other. It will liberate you.
Thank you. All right. Dr. Sebo said he already said his last piece. Do you have any other thing to say?
No, thanks.
Thank you, everyone, for your kind comments and contribution. This has been a very, very fantastic month. And December is coming. Ooh, the month of celebration. We are going to come your way again next week with another powerful topic. You want to know what we're talking about? Love and arranged marriages. Do they work? Someone just asked me, do people still do arranged marriages in this 21st century? Come hear about it next week. So on behalf of myself and my co-host, my beautiful people, Titilayo and Emmanuel, these blessed people that God has given to me, helping us on this platform. Thanks so much. I always say I don't take it for granted. Your time, your insights, your knowledge. God increase you. God bless you. And God reward you. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you for your comments. Please keep sharing. Knowledge is power. Empower someone with the knowledge that we share on this platform. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's at Men Fences TV, so you don't miss our notifications when we're live. It's at Men Fences on Facebook, and it's also at Men Fences Love on Instagram. We're actually on Instagram, although we don't go live on Instagram. We are also on Instagram at Men Fences _ Love. You can find us on Instagram. All right, until we come your way again next week, everyone, have a love-filled week, and God bless you.